Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Jesse's in here yet. When he does get in here, I'll be able to.
And he said you actually didn't say he was going to be a couple minutes late.
Yeah.
Okay, 7 o'clock. Let's do it. 7:01. I will be the chair. I have called this meeting to order. I have no remarks. We're not going to have, we're going to just to the, discuss our comments, so no minutes. Any members have anything they want to report? We have any correspondence? So no old business, no new business, so we don't seem to have any public people here, so.
That's just says the Cold Spring Planning Board, January 27th. That's just announced the Cold Spring Planning Board, January 27th.
Okay.
Who just announced it?
We should.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
So this is the Cold Spring Planning Board, January 27th meeting, 2025. The agenda says 24, but okay, so now let's do board business. Jesse had indicated that we should read our questions out loud, and I don't. We only have 55 minutes. So I guess the question is really how fast we can do this. I guess I will start because we're getting out of the way. I was given sections 4J to 4B. 4L actually got wrapped into 3L because it did all of the traffic everywhere. I created some questions based on the notes that I had distributed previously. So I'll go ahead and just start reading those. The HHFT seems to have only modeled vehicular traffic whose objective is to manage the trail and parking lots or the visitor center. Why has vehicular traffic for those who want to only use the dockside of the Stony Point connector not been modeled? Has any modeling been done on the number of people arriving by vehicle who want to only use the dockside of the LSP connector, for example? Families from outside the area with small children, strollers with bikes, who have family members with limited mobility. And on page 356, the current parking lot utilization numbers given. Please provide modeling on the impact on the utilization of the connector in place. So with the connector in place, will this impact crowd out those who want to use the lot for visiting Cold Spring itself or park to then take the train? Also on page 356, the Main Street utilization numbers indicate that it's already at capacity. Provide modeling on the impact of the utilization with the connector in place. Will this impact quote crowd out those who want to use the street for visiting Cold Spring itself? Figure 3.L 3 and 4. 2023 existing traffic volumes for peak hours shows an excess of about 200 cars within those hours that go west on Main Street and continue beyond Fair. That's pretty much a one-way area. Please account for those cars. It is not sufficient to leave the bus service between Cold Spring and Beacon. It is not sufficient to leave the bus service between Cold Spring and Beacon train stations unresolved. The DGIS says, quote, the frequency and specific route details will continue to be refined as the proposed action is implemented. A fleet of buses running up and down Cold Springs Main Street could be highly disruptive, and as such, the residents of the village and out of the house have this more thought out. Please provide more information on at least the estimated min-max hourly bus capacity, number of buses, percentage of Cold Spring passenger, I should say, train passenger traffic, desired to handle, percentage of Cold Spring train traffic, train passenger traffic desired to be handled by bus. Will the shuttle have a fee? Will you use electric buses? Will this be outsourced to a third party? And long-term funding, long-term commitment. Page 389 mentions the impact of mitigation on Main Street and 90 intersection. Please provide a drawing of the recommended changes. How many parking spots are anticipated to be lost to implement the recommended mitigation? Is it correct to read that shifting 6 seconds of green light from the east-west direction to the north-south direction will change the delay from 230 seconds to 183 seconds? And section 4J, growth and community character for the fewer trails south. I wrote, in general, HHFT seems to only concern itself with traffic flow to and from the parking lots of the trailhead and Dutchess Manor. Traffic within the village of Cold Spring does not seem to be concerned. On page 594, HHFT discusses the impact on only 3 intersections, but leaves out the impact on other parts of the village, including but not limited to the train station, Lower Main Street above the train tracks, and other residential streets. The quote, dockside Little Stony Point connector is used solely as a way to get people to trailheads and into the HHFT system. There is no modeling or discussion on the quote attractiveness of the connector as a destination in itself. How many people will be drawn to the village for just a shoreline walk? How many families will put the stroller in the car, park at the train station, spend some time on the water, and never go beyond the Little Stony Point? That's it. I also provided the notes that I've written previously, from which I generated the questions. Anybody want to go next?
I can go next. Sure, go through. That was very comprehensive with the traffic transfer. My regulars didn't have too many additions to that, so that was very helpful. I kind of went to the page that I said I should just concentrate on my area with a couple of bigger, with a couple of bigger questions for the overall project. But to start, on page 427, it states that the Cold Spring Planning Board will play a role in determining that proposed action in the Dockside Park is not likely to impair the scenic beauty as per the Cold Spring zoning code. How will HHFT work with the village to ensure those zoning code requirements are adhered to? The initial plan is to have the shuttle and Cold Spring North Station. Wonderful details of the proposed shuttle be made to the village. The village is already dealing with congestion issues and needs to have control as to how often this will run on village streets. Maybe the village is able to say enough with the shuttle if we have to. Have the private landowners who live in Cold Spring Village that will be affected by this project consent to the new plans. It is stated that the OPRHP has an existing easement over the property to provide access to Dockside Park. Will this easement be permanently secured if Dockside is to become the endpoint of the trail? In Part B, the potential Fair Street meander proposes implementing new sidewalks along Fair Street. Currently, there is no room for a public sidewalk beginning at Mayor's Park going north towards Little Stony Point. Who will decide how and where these sidewalks will be built? Will an independent engineering study be undertaken on the village's behalf to gauge suitability for the proposed sidewalk? The proposal says maintenance of proposed new sidewalks would be the responsibility of the village. Why is the burden solely on the village? Why is the burden solely the village responsibility? If this section is part of the Fjord Trail, maintenance should be put on HHFD as well. It is stated that HHFT will not provide additional garbage and recycling receptacles in areas adjacent to and near the trail. How will the village be compensated for the additional sanitation training the proposed trail will have in the village? It seems reasonable to expect HHFD to share the cost of extra village receptacles and additional sanitation. How will the village be compensated for wear and tear on our streets that the proposed dump trucks will cause? How will HHFD ensure that there will be no negative environmental impact in the village from constant dump trucks hauling debris through our village streets? Will Lower Main Street village residents be subject to construction work at all hours, or will there be a limit to when trucks and large machinery may operate? What are the upper range decibel levels of the proposed drill and hammer attachments used to install the plates in the proposed dockside elevated structure along the Hudson River shoreline? Lastly, the riverkeepers disagree with the contention that there will be minimal effect on the water quality from the proposed shoreline construction between Lake 20 Point and Dockside Park. Will you be open to an independent assessment prior to beginning construction? And those are my questions. Pass along.
One thing that we talked about last time was also, I'm happy to come up with this, because it's also features, and just sort of like bolt in a question about if we were, if the heavy metals would be covered as they're digging for miles.
Right.
Especially coming past the marsh.
Right,
So,
how are they going to make it if there is, there have to be the project. That'll be really rough, but there's nowhere.
yeah, exactly. No, I mean, it's a few things that talk about.
Sure, go ahead. In the article that I said, they were actually talking about they may just build a bridge and forget the trail.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so, anyway, did City of Hudson or the Hudson Highlands Fjord Trail, HHFT, consult with the trustees and residents of Village Cold Spring before announcing that Cold Spring would be part of the epicenter of tourism in the Hudson Valley? How and why did Phillipstown's proposed Hudson Fjord hike and bike trail balloon from an estimated $3.3 million in 2007 to the current estimated $60 million project that some people even say could be even over $98 million? What was the decision-making process to segment the trail, the HHFT project? Other than diverting pedestrian traffic from the massive thoroughfare, what are the purposes of the meander on Fair Street? Private homes are located on the proposed meander. Will Fair Street homeowners be compensated for the meander? If yes, how? Has a written agreement been reached with Bedroom North for the rest of the relevant vast portion of the trail? What are the criteria for further analysis of the meander? If the general construction means and methods will be based on further evaluation, what are the criteria for that evaluation? Where will the funding be coming from to maintain and operate the trail? Who and how? Have any bids gone out for construction maintenance of the trail? If yes, please provide details. What are the criteria for winning a bid? Does the lowest bid always win? Regarding the expansion of the Washburn Park area, how large exactly is the expansion? How far south will the expansion go? How much buffer will there be between the parking lot and the closest residential home? Who is the unnamed private landowner? I think we already know that. Please provide graphics for flooding mitigation and stormwater solutions, and that's in reference to pages S9 and 30. Who will be paying for increased usage of water, sewer, emergency services, electricity, and restroom maintenance? How is minimal change in these services determined? How is minimal defined? Will the trail be marked to delineate separate lanes for bikers and pedestrians? Kayakers use Metro North parking lot to portage their watercraft to the Hudson. One can surmise that the trail will increase tourism, which will take up most, if not all, of the free Metro North parking spaces on the weekend. Will there be designated reserved parking spaces for kayakers?
Okay.
So, so this is a combination of comments and questions, and mostly questions and so forth. It mirrors what I wrote last time, trying to things more detail. So starting with a comment, and I had a slight minor kind of base snippet, so I'm going to fix that, but I'll ask some suggestions. Echoing a community's aspiration for many decades back, we agree and appreciate the general goal of your trail, providing a modest human trail between Cool Spring and Beacon City, where people can walk, run, and bike safely without the danger of non-ID vehicular traffic. The trail encourage folks to use the vast new parking resources provided at a number of blocks north of the village of Cold Spring, and primarily Breakneck and Dutchtown, and as well as take the train to rail stop at Breakneck Ridge. When the train is making seasonal stops there. However, on the Central Trail, over the boardwalk between Dockside Park and Stony Point, provide scale and scope that we discussed or imagined previously, and may create more problems for themselves. Executive summary. This is just the operational piece that we talked about last time. It's some bullet points of pieces that Jesse thought that we should raise about Cold Spring Village. We used something actually. Cold Spring Village require mutually detailed agreement, annual operating agreement over the management and maintenance of trail points on the perimeter, inside and outside the village that accommodates the delta of visitation to the trail. This is a very broad and detailed discussion that requires some meetings, negotiation, and documentation of repairs, trash removal, maintenance, security features, camera fences, ushers, guides, patrols, and all the above village, town, and county emergency services and first responders. The explanation in section S40 is insufficient. It's very, very late in their in the VGS. Harry, you pointed you tipped off in your section socioeconomic leads of HHFT stated publicly that a key benefit of your travel will bring the people of Cold Spring Village with the form of high real estate values. Wealth creation will be is very attractive to anybody who owns assets. But offsetting, please explain. So this is a question to HHFT. Please explain in detail how HHFT will compensate the people of Cold Spring. So as one, property owners, property taxes do not increase. Long-term rents will not increase, and maintenance and operations costs to the village, see above, will be fully covered by HHFT. Some of those will be no economic impact to us as we get basically justification from increased stress traffic. So this is the in chapter 4F, historic and archaeological resources. A small and archaeological consultants hired to do the archaeological research for the project, given the enormous wealth of the archaeology in the last stretch of advancement over 10 millennia. I researched that there is actually 10,000 years of history here at least. What exactly was the HHFT procurement process for the archaeology consultants? How do you rely on this person to demonstrate that? The consultant states there's no areas of archaeological sensitivity that exist in our section here, the south section. So please just find that. I don't disagree with that, I just want to say this. But was there a second consultant hired to with that? I said there's no archaeologically significant remnant structures that's been reported as a village, and that's only a overview. Section, so chapter 4F6. This is the TGS. As currently designed, the main trail fuel trail would be 17 feet above ground. Fuel trail south would therefore be visible from the residence. Talking about units. So 117 feet. But the distance across the national tracks would not substantially alter views. Okay. Comment, as demonstrated by some basic handheld photos below, the view shed of the Hudson River will be wiped out for most residents users of Fair Street Cold Spring in general. The Fair Street sidewalk is subject to a 5 foot wide ADA compliant would be constructed within the existing right of way, and is anticipated the sidewalk would consist of sidewalks around the village that would therefore not be adversely affected by existing Fair Street. An expanded and improved 5 foot sidewalk along the Fair Street will be a tremendous improvement. Again, hikers to the trails, not included in the DGS, however, is considered. Consideration will also be given to permanently closing one lane of traffic to Fair Street, and therefore thereby making extra 10 feet, about 10 to 15 feet of available for a hiking path. So what I'm saying is, I think that building a sidewalk on Fair Street is a fantastic idea, and in fact, why don't we include, considering the village having discussion about possibly making Fair Street a wrong street.
Yeah.
Just
It has to be if they're going to put in a big sidewalk all the way through.
Well, that's right.
You can't do Mayor's Park and get into the parking and keeping those 2 lanes of traffic.
Precisely. You can open up that discussion and see where the discussion goes. But I think, there are aspects of the field trial that I think are fantastic. There's some that I think could be problematic, but unless I think we have to find compromises for this to work. It is. So then we reach the section we talked about last time, which is the fence side where I'm going through the DJS and they're talking about their own ranges, which is the deck is 1 to 4 feet above the measurable tracks, and the fence is 8 to 12 feet above the deck, which gives us possible range of 16 feet above the tracks. That's the number. So the field trail would not interfere with public security. This is quoting the DJS. The field trail would not interfere with public enjoyment of local parks and other community access in the surrounding area, rather than is expected to enhance them. Still quoting from Mayor's Park at Fair Street facing west toward the mountains of the Hudson Islands. From this viewpoint, field trail south would be elevated roughly 1 to 4 feet above the rail tracks, intervening lands linear running parallel to the measurable rail tracks and visible at eye level of field trail south. Would be visible at Mayor's Park looking westward and would be visible from a small number of residences along nearby Fair Street. It would be consistent with the existing recreational use of Mayor's Park. As such, field trail south would not result in significant changes in use in the area and would not obstruct use or result in a detrimental impact on the perceived view of the views of Mayor's Park looking westward, as the scale of the surrounding environmental feature would be expected to offset this new visual element. I don't know what that means. The field trail is pulled from the Mayor's Park would represent a small section of the trail, and therefore the field trail would not be expected to result in significant adverse visual impact from this viewpoint. So, I'm like, are you talking about the 16-foot element? Is that what you're saying? Because you're not including it and you're not drawing it. So the question here is, firstly, this is definitely the earlier statement that the trail is 17 feet above ground. That's what I'm reading. That's what I'm reinterpreting this as. I'm misinterpreting this because it's very confusing. Is our understanding that a 1 to 4 foot handrail minimum, that 1 foot handrail minimum required on each side, and the measurable rail requires a 12 foot barrier. between the tram and the tracks. This will be 60-foot barrier along this park. But this is where the true fence are here. That's my question. Comment dockside. The massive floor visitors all through dockside park will carry the park. I'm not sure how much time we spend down here on this fairly park with the dogs there because that festival's there for film screens. It's dead end park at the moment.
Baseball games that haven't done.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Halloween and the other Saturday and Sunday, it's being used for baseball, and during the week. And there's park, yeah. And, oh, Dockside Park. Oh, I'm sorry.
So Dockside Park is going to change as it becomes like a thoroughfare, right? So that's going to shift. This park, the boardwalk, the fence, simply above the tracks will eradicate the view shed and putting Hudson River much to the west side. We're going on to chapter 4, page G, page 557. So this is just talking about, I can read it out if you want, but it's quite the page there. It's talking about the construction factor and phase and saying it's not really disruptive, you know what I'm saying? We're talking about, 5 years, 6 months, 6 seasons. That sounds pretty onerous to me. It is what it is, I guess, but that feels like it's a lot of construction. What they're planning is not going to be. You have to look at construction first, once this thing goes. And then noise and air quality. So this is chapter 4, section H. I've quoted, I'm happy to read it if you like, but it's the description of work. I'll just start reading it a little bit, and I'll start. Excavator work, we use laboratory hammer attached to progress the first 20-foot section of steel pipe through the fill, and open the diesel hammer attachment to drive the steel pipe through the remaining soft soil stitch against glacier tilt. Keeps going. And then start second paragraph, top down construction activities will be constructed in the water till work window July 1st to December 31st. And then it goes on for several paragraphs. And then it quotes the village of Cold Springs noise ordinance. And then I'm going to read my comment on this. And I will throw in that I mentioned this last week. I've got 4 years of experience in this same issue. The liquor concerns that was pollution during the 5-year past construction for offsite connected. The concerns are to discipline noise level created by heavy machinery drilling into bedrock and building the technical platforms. Being able to work the sound will reflect, not dissipate or absorb. And that is what they're claiming. They're claiming it will absorb, it won't. It will reflect. As claimed, and reflect off Storm King Mountain. I'll give you an example. Do we all hear the train horn reflecting through the village? Mm-hmm. You hear the train horn, you hear the train horn reflect, right? Those any construction sound is going to reflect in the canyon of the Storm King. We'll do an echo chamber vis-a-vis the train horns. High frequencies of construction will take on a psychoacoustic toll to anybody within earshot. The sound will not be occasional, it will be constant, long bursts all day for months at a time. And then there'll be the sound starting early in the morning. There's talking about 7 in the morning. The movement having trust through the village. It's like a huge toll on the peace and tranquility and emotional welfare.
Do we have a Jesse?
We have just
Not very long. Hey, boss.
Hey.
Oh, look at that.
Who's that?
Hey, you look tired.
Sorry about that.
Have you been following along?
No.
Are you
Hold
muted?
on.
I've been
You've been,
I've been trying to soothe the baby. So
we can't hear you. Give us a second.
Yeah, because it might not be on
Click the
TV.
test.
Yeah, you might, yeah.
Oh, duh.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's
I
on
heard
TV, right?
Okay.
can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Jesse?
There we
Yeah.
go.
Hey, sorry.
Have you been following along?
I have not. I've been soothing a baby in the dark. Uh, so sorry. But I know we have 15 minutes left. What I assume everybody's
So we've all read ours.
you've all read your comments.
Yes.
Okay, great. I will review.
A question.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just read my questions. I only have like half a page of comments, so I don't know if I need to do that. You want me to?
You're saying you haven't talked about your comments yet.
Well, what I did was I just read off the list of the
Uh-huh.
questions that I updated, and then
Okay.
I have like a half page of comments in as a whole.
Okay,
They're
gotcha.
very,
Okay.
All the board members have been interjecting when people are making comments, so I think that we've been having a discussion as we move.
Good. So, Abigail, when, because I'll want to review the video. When do you think the soonest you could have the video uploaded is?
I can probably do it tonight. 'Cause I'm going back
It's not
to
it's not urgent that it's tonight, but if you can do it by middle of day tomorrow, that's sufficient.
Yeah,
Just to give
that's fine.
me time to review. Um, all right. Why don't you go ahead and do your comments then, and then I can throw mine on the pile.
okay. The hiking and biking trail from Cold Spring to Beacon was initially proposed in 2007 by Phillipstown to create a safe recreational access between the two communities, plus provide links to already existing trailheads. It's unsettling that the modest $3 million trail has ballooned into estimates of over $98 million. The budget for the trail is rather ambiguous. If the lead agencies were to argue, 98 million is if they were to argue that that was not the right amount, I would appreciate a detailed itemized budget with the corresponding source of the funding. While Beacon will collect additional sales tax, and I hope I'm right on this, I know you will correct me if I'm wrong. While Beacon will collect additional sales tax revenue from the estimated 600,000 visitors to the trail, Cold Spring will not receive any corresponding funds from Putnam County. Yet Cold Spring, a village of less than 2,000 residents with already strained resources, will be the biggest bearer of cost, disruption, and inconvenience due to the astronomical increase in tourism. A review of the DGIS shows little regard or insight into the life-altering impact that the HHFT will have on Cold Spring residents. The reports asserting that the scenic Hudson intentionally circumvented New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, SOCORA, by segmenting the project are very disconcerting. The Riverkeeper's position on the proposed fjord trail and the negative impact it would have on the Hudson River is also deeply troubling.
Cool. Thank you.
And I just want to say I'm actually in favor of the trail, but I don't particularly think that what we've been presented has been thoroughly, I don't know, has not been very thorough. It's been very, in my mind, very ambiguous.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we have concrete answers to the concrete bridge.
Yeah. That's a pretty good segue into mine. Just as a time check, we have to be out of there in 10 minutes. Is that right?
20. Yeah, we got 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay, cool. All right, I will read my. I haven't shared it digitally, but I'll do that after. Go ahead and pull it
You want
up.
to share your screen?
Can you turn them up too?
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
Please.
Jesse, you look like you had a
and
baby
I'm
or
not
something.
sure. I think I can just read it. It says I'm not allowed to share right now, so um.
Hold on, give me.
All right,
Okay.
I think broadly, I think the gist of mine is aligned with Hillary's in insofar as I focus a lot on the thinking about like the typical role of our board in the context of evaluating proposals that impact the village by a substantial degree, and just thinking about like would we consider this a complete application, for the parts that impact the village? Like would we say, okay, you're ready for public hearing on this? And for me, the answer is no. But let me go ahead and read what I have, um, and then we can kind of go from there. So, all right. Were this any other application with the same scale, scope, and potential impact on the village, it would be in front of the planning board working with us to find plans that worked well for the developer and for the residents of the village of Cold Spring. As it stands, that will not happen here. Though there are many, many statements in the DGEIS that act as though it has. Will not impact, minimal impact, negligible impact, mitigated impact. These are all value judgments from a developer that has many things to consider, least of all the feedback of the municipal board that has no authority to impact its plan. It can make these statements unilaterally because there is no body that can say otherwise, because we're not empowered to do so. In my mind, there are two reasons why the state parks should interrogate this dynamic. One, the scenic viewshed overlay district exists to protect the village's critical natural and man-made scenic resources. The planning board is the board that has the responsibility and authority for evaluating development statements related to the SVO. And so many of the assertions made in the DGEIS proposal are made with certainty and authority unwarranted by the developer's position and evidence. Uh, Two, the New York State waterfront development policy document says explicitly, for at least the parts of the project that impact the village of Cold Spring directly, full consideration should be given. In policy 18, quote, to safeguard the economic, social, and environmental interests of the state and its citizens, proposed major actions in the coastal area must give full consideration to those interests and to the safeguards with which the state has established to protect valuable coastal resource areas. This was just a requirement to give full consideration to the SVO district. Additionally, the proposal substantially alters the character of the coastline in Cold Spring, and no mention of that is made here in the proposal. Policy 25 of the same uh, waterfront development policy states protect, restore, or enhance natural and man-made resources which are not identified as being of statewide significance, but which contribute to the overall scenic quality of the coastal area. In Cold Spring, we have natural resources that have been explicitly identified. There's a list of them in the code as contributing to the overall scenic quality of the coastal area in the SVO. So, will the fjord trail be a good or bad thing for the village? As the chair of a body whose whole existence is predicated on answering this question many times a month, for many other proposals that impact the village far less significantly than this, I can say I don't know. I can't possibly know because the evidence provided in this proposal would not be sufficient to get my vote one way or the other. For the parts impacting the village, I would say it's incomplete application. We have many, many developers come before our board in good faith and good effort that still need to alter plans when working toward a final proposal. This is not because the motivations or initial ideas are bad, but simply because empathy cannot replace advocacy. It is because of this that I urge any official that supports the broad strokes of the Fjord Trail to interrogate the trust required in order to believe it somewhat blindly that the proposal as outlined will result in a good outcome for the village. And then I kind of stopped there as my broad statements, and I kind of want to I'd like to go into a little bit more detail about some of the specific dimensions that I think are missing in terms of detail to help give hint about what I think needs to be in there. My intent was to focus in on the details around the waterfront connector materials and design, the justifications about and the images that I think are a little bit are a bit misleading about the impact, the visual impact of the waterfront connector from various vantage points within the village. Um, but yeah, that's my that's what I got. How does that line up with everybody else's?
I cannot agree more, and I cannot emphasize enough. Like some of the key questions that I was asking, like about 3 minutes before you jumped on,
Yeah.
were just my confusion in their documentation as to is there a fence behind the trail on the connector or not? Because it's misleading. Because in one hand, they say that their trail raises 16 or 17 feet above land, and then they state there's no fence. So is there or isn't there? I'm not sure. So it's very confusing. Um,
Yeah.
what I've heard flat out from Metro North, there has to be a fence. And then in
Yeah.
other parts of I want to say chapter or other sections of chapter 4, they've said there has to be a 12-foot fence. So that's a big deal. It's a really big deal. Like it's not a
Yeah.
small deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And those details matter in terms of making assertions about the visual impact on the area. Like
Right.
there's just no way to evaluate it without that detail.
Right. And then their marketing graphics, they'll often have, and I don't mean to sound overly cynical. I support the trail going north of Stony Point, but their marketing materials always look very appealing. But I don't think they're frankly truthful when it involves the dockside connector.
Yeah.
There's no reference to correct heights, widths, or fences.
Yeah.
Well, Jesse, I like. Yeah,
Go ahead.
okay. No, well, I like your framing of the whole argument as if we would get an application from a developer for the planning board, that we would have these questions which we would deem this incomplete. And I think it's a very good segue to go into why we have concerns, especially because they do state in the document that they admit that the Cold Spring Planning Board does play a determining role in proposed action at Dockside Park. So, I mean, it's something that really is written in their proposal, so it's something that we should be able to get these questions answered like we would anybody else that's gonna look to develop something in Dockside Park or anywhere within the village. So that's my takeaway from what you said. I love the segue. I love how you frame it, that this is a planning board, this is what we focus on, this is where we think your report is lacking, please provide more information.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
I totally agree.
Great, 100% agree.
Yeah. Great. It sounds like the structure also affords like I wanted to go into more detail on specific things that are lacking. I imagine a lot of the stuff that you all brought up in your comments can be layered in there, as well as the broad takeaways and Henry, one of the things I wanted to add, I thought maybe you would have comment about it, but like um with that framing of like what are the things that we would have asked for that didn't have enough clarity to give reassurance that that the plan, even if we think broadly it's a good thing for the village, uh, needs to answer more questions about like, what the actual impact and what mitigating factors need to be there. Did you end up addressing traffic much in yours?
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
Now, the one interesting thing, with the way you want to frame this,
Yeah.
is we would ask for how many parking spaces
Mm,
they would provide,
Yeah.
and if it was a building,
Yeah.
we would have to provide a certain number of parking spaces. And in my questions, I asked, and I brought up something in a previous meeting, which even with the data review, I never got the feeling they cared about cars within the village itself.
Yeah.
So I've asked that, the impact on the train station, because people park there to take the train on the
Yeah.
weekend, and it's
Yeah.
now full of people going to dockside. But yeah, I mean, we would be asking for, then we would be like calculating how many parking spots they needed to provide,
Yeah.
and looking for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The clogging up Lower Main Street and clogging up the train station is not a reasonable, wouldn't be accepted as somebody coming in with some kind of development.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like usually the framing of our work is someone is coming, they're always asking to do something they're legally allowed to do, right? Like every application, yeah, like if it's gotten to us, it doesn't need a variance. And the code enforcement officer has said this is a matter for the planning board. So everyone who comes to us is asking to do something that's legally allowed. And uh, and this proposal is also legally allowed. And our role, as it normally is to say, okay, cool, it's legally allowed. The broad strokes of this product are legally allowed. What is the way to instantiate this in a way that respects the needs of the village while also respecting the rights of the developer, right? That's the line we're always walking. And we don't have authority here like we normally do, but that is the role we would be trying to advocate for. And I think that like I really the line that I feel like I don't know if it struck you guys the way it struck me, but the I really believe this idea that empathy cannot replace advocacy. That's the whole, like if you believe that the developers we work with do generally work in good faith, they're both trying to do the thing they're trying to do and also anticipate what the village might want and need. It's still not enough. Like the whole purpose of our board is to say, yeah, it's good that you do that, but you need a group of people whose responsibility has been given to them as you are the ones who are supposed to advocate for the village. You think about what we need, what's going to impact us, and that's our role. And I think that like forgetting a moment, even the most cynical, like even mildly cynical takes on how this project has evolved, I think that like that statement shouldn't be controversial to me. The idea that you can only go so far as to imagine somebody else the concerns that someone else might have, and what you might do to alleviate them. The better thing to do is to ask them. And that is the role of the planning board, is to say, hey, we're here as representatives of the village at large to help guide proposals in a way that do that balance. And I think this, like, it's really stark to me that something that is really is of a scale that will impact the village far more than really any case we've heard in the last year by a large margin. Uh, that with that being true, we have none of the normal tools at our disposal to fulfill our role. So I think like that's why I really lean into this I think there's like two parts here. One is a plea to the state parks agency to kind of see this for what it is, and the other is more directly requests for clarity um, from the Fjord Trail folks on the off chance they do want to engage in that way and give us that detail. So
Can we ask for the Fjord Trail for the option for them to build their trail to Stony Point and pause for 2 years? And the reason is, this has been proposed
Yeah.
by the supervisors and by the mayors of Cold Spring and Nelsonville
yeah,
to allow for the traffic studies to occur for essentially the parking, the new parking at Duchess Manor and the northern parking lots to take effect, to train the visitation and for visitors to be primarily drawn out, for the hikers to be drawn out of the village, and for some pressure. We're still going to get crushed. There's no question, but some pressure to be taken off of the village. That's the plan. So, and then to decide, make a decision at that point for whole new administrations, new everything, to decide if the Dockside Connector gets built at that point.
what for me,
And I think we have 3 minutes.
okay.
So just so you know.
Because if you're just saying, can we ask the developer, like, what questions got us? That's the $64,000 question.
Yeah, I think like the thing that worries me about, I don't have a lot of faith that waiting does anything but make the. I guess I'm not. I expect it not to help drain capacity. Not like that. The fact that there's not a dockside connector means that everybody's coming through the village, and things are worse than they would be otherwise. So,
Sorry?
part of me wonders if like my expectation is not that we would see a diversion, but rather we would actually just see like we would see exactly how bad it is, and we may end up deciding that the dockside connector is required in order to save Main Street as like a usable resource on the weekends. Because if tourism goes up and the only way to get there from Cold Spring is Fair Street, my street, by the way, is it's gonna be absolutely nuts. But
The thing being that the dockside connector is a boardwalk that attracts people like coming off. So
Yeah.
everyone wants to drive into Cold Spring, park the car, and jump
then
on that.
just because we're
We're
a minute away.
running out of time here.
Yeah, can you make sure to include that in your comments so that I have them on hand, and I'll see what I can do to work them in.
I'm just gonna make that one edit. I'm just gonna flip one sentence back to where it should be, and I'll do this.
So the next meeting is 6th of February?
Is it the public hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you anticipating having done by then?
You're gonna write the.
So this week I'm gonna do a synthesis of everybody's comments. So I'll circulate that as soon as I have it ready because I'm gonna send it to Ted Fink, and then people can send me feedback on it offline, and I'll incorporate it as we go.
Yeah.
And then when we meet after the next meeting we have after the public hearing, we'll have a big discussion about how we want to alter that document in response to our own thoughts and stuff we heard from the public and stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna go ahead and shut this down.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting of January 27th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks. We just don't want to overstay our
Yeah, of course.
welcome there,
Of course.
Richard. Enough
Thank
time.
you guys for doing this, and